Hello, friends. A few days ago, we saw how the defenders of the 40th Marine Infantry Brigade modified a Magura naval drone by adding 6 infantry rocket launchers, thermobarics to directly attack land and naval targets. They can also carry up to 8 Mosquito drones, configured for reconnaissance, attack, or incendiary missions. Notably, another Magura from the flotilla has a telescopic control antenna that deploys in the area of operations, extending the Mosquito drone's operating range inland. This helps them carry out missions against coastal defenses or the anti-aircraft batteries Ivan has the bright idea to set up near the Black Sea. Honestly, I think that before long we'll see underwater drones appear out of nowhere inside a naval base of Ivan the Pirate to launch a swarm of attack Mosquito drones. Yesterday we told you about the 4th attack by the 1st Independent Center against the frigate Admiral Essen, which is a carrier of caliber cruise missiles, while it was docked at the port of Novorossiysk. In the footage, you can see how the coastal defenses open fire on the approaching swarm of FP-2 Mosquito drones, but despite the volume of anti-aircraft artillery, one of the raiders manages to get through and hits the frigate directly. The full extent of the damage suffered by the ship has not been confirmed, but satellite images of the port show clear signs of fire damage on one of its sides. We will surely hear news soon about a new inspection visit to the ship by the defenders. On the ground front, it's always positive to see how the defenders take Putin's kiss to another Grad multiple launch rocket system, which are particularly detested by the infantry and are zealously hunted by unmanned systems forces. In this case, the impact not only managed to demilitarize the system, but also did so in a rather spectacular way, since it seems it was fully loaded at the time of the close encounter. A good way to start the weekend. The Russian mill blogger Rivar has confirmed that Ukrainian Hornet-class Mosquito drones are flying en masse over the strategic logistical corridors connecting Donetsk, Mariupol, and Melitopol. At the same time, in Luhansk Oblast, the Hornets are working together with Bulava-class loitering munitions to carry out almost constant interdiction on the Horde's supply lines, managing to destroy more than 120 trucks since March 2026. Attacks that have been geolocated and confirmed by the Russian truck drivers themselves, who record and post them on social media. This corroborates the destruction of their vehicles and those of their colleagues. Thanks to the detailed videos that the Defenders Unmanned Systems units have started publishing en masse to share their successes in this offensive. The blockade of the R-280 logistics route, which connects Mariupol, Melitopol, and Simferopol, is under the responsibility of the 412th Brigade, nemesis of the Unmanned Systems Forces, which is carrying out a large-scale operation to permanently cut off Russian logistics on the southern front. The primary targets of these attacks are the military equipment and supplies of the Horde's occupation forces in their so-called deep rear. To implement this blockade, a new generation of Mosquito drones with fuselage and wings similar to those of an airplane is being used. These were previously unknown and were developed jointly between the 412th Nemesis Brigade and the manufacturer. This enabled the creation of a system ideally suited for this type of mission. The new system's effectiveness is shown by the destruction of dozens of the invaders' supply trucks and tankers. The scale of the losses led Russian occupation officials to impose restrictions on heavy vehicle traffic on sections of the route starting May 21, 2026. These measures, aimed at mitigating the effects of the blockade, have further complicated Russian supply operations, connecting mainland Russia with occupied Crimea and the southern front lines. Another measure is that transports have been ordered to use rural dirt roads to bypass the route, which has also been useless because Ukrainian Mosquito drones have no trouble detecting these vehicles on any type of terrain. The repercussions of this campaign go far beyond the loss of part of the Horde's truck fleet. But invading units operating at the front have begun to report shortages of fuel and ammunition. Meanwhile, prices have risen drastically in the city of Melitopol and on the Crimean Peninsula, caused by delays in supply shipments, traffic jams caused by attacks and restrictions on heavy vehicle traffic on main roads, forcing them to use local roads. In this footage, we can see how the Mosquito operators of Brigade K2 hit a supply convoy. We can see that the action takes place at night, since these are recordings from their infrared cameras, but we can clearly see the intense use of artificial intelligence guidance systems for their terminal attack run. This prevents these raiders from being affected by the electronic warfare systems that Ivan uses to try to deceive his pursuers. This doesn't mean they don't work, but the swarm operator chooses the target and sets the Mosquito to automatic guidance, an onboard autopilot that removes the need for an external operator. After the action, one of the surviving orcs sadly tells us how his convoy of military vehicles was completely demilitarized by a Ukrainian swarm. I couldn't say for sure that it's the same one that received attention from the K2 Brigade, but it's within the realm of possibility. While we listen to his sad story, we hear rifle fire further down the road, a sure sign that the defenders are still working to close off that road. These attacks are reducing the combat capabilities of the invading Army Corps operating on the southern front by making it harder to rotate troops and supply ammunition and food. The 1,000 Russian blogs have already begun to warn of an imminent widespread collapse if the attacks on their supply lines are not stopped. In this footage, we see one of the new medium-range Mosquito types joining the first generation of Hornets. The first one doesn't explode when it hits the invader's truck, but its partner, which was right behind in the attack wave, managed to finish the job, sending the vehicle to the afterlife for Mordor's illegal transporters. Thanks to the footage, we can see the large wingspan of these drones, which could help explain their long range. We can also notice that it has a very slim silhouette, which makes it harder to shoot down when fired at from the sides. The last striking thing is the large explosive payload it carries. I'm sure Ivan is going to enjoy them a lot this summer season. But trucks aren't the only thing defenders hunt on the southern front, since high-value assets like air defense systems also have to be transported on the same roads due to the lack of viable alternative routes in that area. And in this case, the operators of the Special Operations Forces managed to deputinize 2 Tor M2 anti-aircraft systems. The first was operating in the vicinity of the occupied city of Melitopol, while the second unit was being transported by a truck along the M14 highway near the occupied port of Berdyansk during the night of May 29, which shows how even critical equipment is being destroyed while in transit through the area. It would have been better if they were destroyed while operating, as the specialists would be inside, and neutralizing them is important. But come on, let's look at the glass half full. If you want to see additional content about the war in Ukraine, I invite you to visit our 2 new channels, where we present information about the war in a different format. Don't forget to check them out. Remember to visit our Patreon, where for just $1 you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see additional content about the war in Ukraine, I invite you to visit our 2 new channels, where we present information about the war in a different format. Don't forget to check them out. Remember to visit our Patreon, where for just $1 you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel.